Afternoon everybody, Car and Biker here. Bit of a different view today, bit of a brown view. Been up to Castleford, to Castle Motors. Never been there before. Turns out it's right next to a place I used to work at, but I've never noticed it before. But I used to work there before I rode bikes, so that'll be why. To borrow a bike that I've been trying to ride for a good few months now, and nobody seemed to want to lend me one. Nobody had a demonstrator. They'd all sell. They wouldn't buy. They'd all sell me a new one, but they wouldn't let me ride one. Didn't have demo bikes. And Castle Motors, I rang them the other week because I saw a second-hand bike for sale on the site. Organised a test ride of it on the Saturday. Got to the Friday and they rang me and said, "Really sorry, but we've sold it." But luckily they've got another one in, and it's this one that I'm sat on now, in Desert Racing Beige. It's a Honda CB500X 500cc twin, quite low powered for me. I think it's got about 50 horsepower. It might be a bit less, might be like 46 or something. And it's unusual for me. It's a thinking of the desert beige again. It's a adventure styled bike, but I'm not planning on going on adventures with it as such. I'm actually looking at it because I'd like to go and do a tour or two with Mrs. C on the back and some luggage, but Z1000, it's hard enough to put a person on the back. Putting luggage on one as well is a big ask, really. And riding a few hundred miles a day is definitely a big ask for a pillion. Actually, for that matter, for a rider on a bike like that. So, thinking of this for a second bike. And it's taken me a bit of getting used to, I have to say. It's strange only having 500 cc's. It's strange only having a twin. Makes a funny noise and feels funny to me. And it's strange being sat this high up, but it's quite comfortable. In fact, somebody told me it's like riding an armchair, and I can kind of feel it. I mean, at this point it's like riding an armchair. You have to lean to the left because the wind is quite impressively strong today, but it's coping with it all right. The weirdest thing so far is the clutch, which doesn't bite like the Z1000 clutch does. So I find I'm revving it quite a lot more than I need to when I'm changing gears. And the other weird thing is, why did anybody think it was a good idea at Honda to put the horn in the opposite position to where it's supposed to be? I don't know if you can see that from there, but the horn on every other bike I've ever ridden is underneath the indicators, and on this bike it's above them. So I haven't done it yet, but I've been warned, and I've nearly done it, that when you go for the indicators you quite often give people a toot on the horn. But yeah, I'm quite pleasantly surprised so far. The last attempt at getting a bike for the two-up riding was the Kawasaki, the Vulcan S, which again was quite a small engine, low power bike, and I kind of didn't mind because the reason I want the bike isn't for going fast on, if that makes any sense. You know, compared to a car, obviously you want to be going quick, but compared to a Z1000, well, I'm not that fussed, because it's about having a nice cruise, a nice journey from place to place in a bit of comfort with Mrs. C on the back. And the Vulcan S actually fulfilled all of that, and the only thing that killed it for me and made me not get it was the brakes were terrible. And I don't know if it was that particular one. It might well be that it was just the one that I went on, that demonstrator, but I like it that when I pull the front brake, well, I slow down a bit. Well, I slow down a lot actually when I pull the front brake, you know. Rear brake for kind of normal use, if I'm using the brakes at all on normal riding, and then front brake when I want to slow down pretty quickly. And the bike I rode, the Vulcan S, just there was nothing there. When you pull the front brake in, you could absolutely hammer the front brake on and nothing would happen. I've not had a reason to hammer the front brake on this one yet, but there's nobody behind me, so let's have a play with it at least. Yeah, that brakes like I expected to. I think a lot of that is probably my expectation of what a bike does, of course, because the cruiser style bikes, a lot of weight's on the back wheel, and I like that bite of a front brake on a front wheel. So you know, perhaps I just was hoping for too much, I don't know. But this one, so far, it's quite nice. It's quite throwable. It goes all right. I mean, it's not super fast, but it's all right. It's not probably as quick as the XJ6 was, but not far off. You know, it's quick enough. It looks nice, and I kind of quite. I don't know if this is right or not, but I quite like the desert beige. Desert beige, by the way, I don't think that's a real colour. I don't think that's what Honda call it. They certainly don't call it desert racing beige. But I quite like it. It's quite adventure-y, isn't it? And I'd kind of want to adventure-y it up a bit with that style of box on the back for luggage, and maybe the bars on the sides, you know, crash protection, because, well, you know, my history. Kind of need it. Whether I'd go with a full-on knobbly tyres and off-roading gear, well, my off-roading history suggests otherwise. But what I'll do is I'll show you it, though. I'm not doing a review here. There's plenty of reviews of bikes on the interwebs. Don't need another one. But I'll give you a walk around of it. I'll find somewhere to stop and show you it. Bit jerky between gears, bit snatchy on the throttle, but I think all modern bikes are, and you can generally sort that out, can't you? But it's very smooth. I believe it's half a car engine in it. It's it only revs up to 8,500 revs, so it's quite low revving. But somebody said I think it was half a Honda Jazz engine basically, which is why it gets very, very good mileage, which of course for touring is a good thing. For my normal riding I don't really care, but for touring, miles between stops is probably good. I'm told you can get 55, 60 miles to the gallon out of it. The suspension, very soft. You know, a road like this, normally I'm losing my fillings, but this is soaking them up. Makes it feel a little bit wayward in places, but again, part of that might be just me not being used to the bike. Doesn't have the planted feel I like, but that's not to say that it's not sure-footed. It's just a little bit different, really. Under the little bridge, normally a place to blip the throttle, but standard exhaust can on a modern bike means not really worth the hassle. You can barely hear the damn thing. Right, there must be somewhere to pull over around here somewhere. This'll do. Pull in without tooting the horn. That's in an awkward position when you've got sporty tight boots on. There's that kickstand. Let's have a look then. 004 there, another 3 and I will be a secret agent. So not a bad looking thing, is it? So quite different to the thing I know, the type of bike I normally go for. It's a very, very reasonably priced bike. Surprisingly so. I mean, this is a demonstrator that's come from Honda. So apparently this particular bike has been taken round shows so that people can go and have a look at it and what have you. And it's done in its life. And it's about, I think it's about a year old. I can't see the plate underneath there. It's either a year or 6 months. It's a 16 plate, so it's about a year old, but it's only done 179 miles before I picked it up, so it'll be a few more than that now. But 179 miles, and they want £4,500 for it, which is not a lot at all, is it really? The bike normally new is 5,600, so 179 miles apparently knocks 1,100 quid off the price. Sounds good. Oh, somebody's bike sounds nice. But yeah, I can't really tell you a lot about it. Just show you it and kind of tell you why I am considering it. Yeah, quite a nice thing, I think. As I say, I don't know enough to tell you much more about it than I already have. You can kind of see where they've saved a bit of money here and there. So it's quite a basic swing arm on it, none of the fancy Honda things. You normally get them kind of weird curves and things, and kind of standard lock nut type adjuster at the back. I suspect the suspension is nothing spectacular. Maybe I should have looked it up before I did it, but you know, I was too excited about riding a bike. But yeah, I suspect the suspension's nothing spectacular, but it rides okay. It rides pretty well actually, considering. So for me, the idea would be to get a couple of side boxes on, some of the adventure style ones I would think, and get a decent top box on as well. Engine bars to protect the engine covers, and you get bars around the front as well. Kev would like it, it's got a little beak to give you that adventure-y look. Yeah, anyway, that's enough looking at it. It's more important to ride the damn thing, isn't it? The only bit that I struggle with these adventure bikes is height, and that's why I'm riding this one. So there'll be a lot of people no doubt will say, oh no, you want to try the 750 or the Tiger or Versys or V-Strom. Now I've actually had to sit on all of those, some of them in a quite amusing way, where once I was sat on it I had to get people to hold on to the bike because they're all too tall for me and my little short stupid legs, and it meant that in some cases I couldn't even get on and off the bike properly. I tried to have a sit on Kev's Tiger, and that was hopeless. And Hull Motorvello let me have a go on, or not a go, but a sit on his V-Strom, and that was a no-go as well for height. This one is pretty much at the limit of where I'd like to be. It's probably about the same height. Ooh. It's probably about the same height as the Z1000SX, to be honest. Maybe a little bit lower. And the Z1000SX, of course, I got rid of in the end after dropping it, mainly I think because of its height, and for me being a bit stupid, trying to push it backwards with my feet while sat on the bike rather than just getting off the thing and rolling it where I wanted it to be. But it's doable with this one, I think, because most of the riding I would be doing would be two up. Oh, the mountain of doom. You know that it's going to be bad when that starts appearing at the side of the road. The next thing is that it's all over the blooming roads and just a horrible slippery mess. But yeah, most of the riding I do on a bike like this would be with Mrs. C on the back. And although Mrs. C is very light, she does bring the height of the bike down a little bit. Let's see how brave I feel on these bends. These bends normally I do them without slowing down, but on a bike I don't know so well. Yeah, about 10 miles an hour slower on this bike. And it deals with these lovely. She's probably Probably what we want, isn't it? These are the type of roads that I would want to be touring on, really. I don't like motorways. I think motorways are intensely boring. They're great for cars, but when you're riding a bike, motorways have no place, do they? Not sure the windscreen's doing much. I suppose if I'd strike the adventurer's pose. Oh, it's doing a bit. It's doing a bit. When I stand up, I can definitely feel a difference. Let's give it the Suffolk Andy 40 to 70 challenge. So 40. And go on, get 14. Stay there. Tuck in behind the screen for the power. Not too bad. If you don't know what the challenge is, it's 40 to 70 in top gear. And the engine really didn't want to do that. It certainly wanted a lower gear for that. Can you overtake on a 500cc bike? Yep. Wow. It absolutely soaks up the speed bumps. That's impressive. Now, I'm not sure if it's just the wind or if it's just me not being used to the bike. If you're an owner on these, maybe you can tell me, but just feels like it needs a little bit more weight over the rear wheel when you're braking. And that sounds wrong, doesn't it? You want the weight on the front wheel when braking, but it's almost like it's the rear end gets a bit flighty quicker than you would expect it to. So it seems to be lifting up more. Now, it might just be the geometry of the bike. I mean, it's quite a tall bike for me. I'm in a very upright position, so it's unusual. So it might just be that, and it might be, say, the wind, that it just feels a bit flighty because the wind is actually gusting, and maybe that's unsettling the back end a bit, or just making me extra conscious of it because, you know, I've never ridden a bike before. But that's the only thing I think that I would see as a criticism so far. And I wouldn't say it was that bad, you know, it's just something I'd noticed. When I'm braking heavily on my Kawasaki, it always feels planted at the rear, right up until the point where the rear wheel lifts off the ground. And even then it kind of stays in a straight line, where this almost feels like the back end wants to slip out a bit. Nothing uncontrollable or unsettling, just not something I'm used to. The rev band for the power very low down, which is good, which is why the 40 to 70 test went so badly. But low down in the power, it gets on with the job pretty quick. Yeah, I mean, low down in the revs, it really wants to go. That's what's making it, for me, a little bit snatchy as I'm getting used to it. I'm getting used to that, and the clutch having, before it bites, mine would be biting there. This one, right out to there before it wants to go. Soon be sorted out, that I'm sure, with some different levers and what have you. Some adjustable ones for the people with stupidly small hands like me, to match my stupidly small legs. And my normally sized body to make me have the physique of an adult orangutan. Yeah, that clutch. There's something lovely when you're changing gear about that. And you're just snicking through the gears, and right now this is every gear change starts with a bit of an over rev. Yeah, it steers all right. Whee! Certainly chuck it at a corner. I think Mrs. C would like it. She has had a sit on one already, and without it moving, of course, because I couldn't find somebody to lend me one, but she's had a sit on one already, and gave the thumbs up from that side of things. I think because the seat is a lot softer and the pegs are a lot further away from the seat, so you're not sat where you can rest your chin on your kneecap. She does go through a lot to put up with me, in general and in biking terms. But we went away for a ride last year where we had an hour and a half or so on the bike, and got to where we were going, stopped the bike, went, right, off you get, and the answer was, I can't, my knees have seized up. And that's just from having the knees in that awkward position. Rear brake's powerful, surprisingly so. What happens if I do, well, I haven't got the option here, but if I do rear brake and accelerate at the same time. The pillion brake. Yeah, that works well. Everybody told me I would be tooting people with the awkwardly positioned horn, but no. I'm rev bombing them all by accident. It's a good job it hasn't got a big aftermarket exhaust on. Can't even give him a proper rev bomb. Well, I'm nearly back, so I'll wrap it up. As I say, not a review, just the ramblings of me whilst riding a thing. Quite rapid bit of water there. So I will go back and give him it back and get my orange and black toy back. So the question you might be asking now, I know I would be, is did I buy it? And the answer is no. I decided against buying that particular bike, but I might still get a CB500X because it was good fun, and I think it would do exactly what it is that I want it to do. But there are a couple of things going against it. One was the Desert Racing Beige, which, although I quite like, isn't the best colour, but that isn't the main reason. The main reason is they said that was a Honda bike, a test bike. Obviously it's a Honda bike, but a test bike or a show bike, something they've been using not as a demonstrator for the public to ride, but something they've been using to show off the bike. And I'm a bit too concerned that what they've been demonstrating might not have been very good for it. So, not that I'd be particularly worried about, you know, running in and all that kind of thing. I think that's somewhat overstated, the running in bit. But more that it's been at shows. Who knows what they've been doing? Have they been, you know, bouncing it over things, jumping it over things, doing things that could do damage? Is that why the back end felt a little bit flighty, perhaps? And that wasn't worrying me too much until I kind of got off and had a good look around it. And there was quite a bit of scuffing and scratching and what have you on the plastics. And looking at it, I would say it's been on its side quite a few times. Now, if it was a 10-year-old bike for £1,000, then you know you wouldn't worry about it so much. It would be like what we did with the TDM, I suppose. But with a year-old bike and a bit of a higher price to start with, I thought maybe it's just a bit too much risk to put into it. Keep giving you a wipe because it's miserable at the minute. There's a kind of fine rain that soaks you through going on. So yeah, although it was a good price, I have to say, it turns out that the bike new is actually 5,800. I got that wrong, not 5,600. So it's £1,300 off, which is probably a fair price with that bit of damage on it. But yeah, you just don't know what it hides, do you? So I'm going to leave it until I've got some 2017 bikes in, And if I do decide to get one, more than likely I'll go back to that place to get one from, because they've been kind to me, lending me a bike, so why not go back to them and give them a bit of custom, compared to the one in Hull that were not interested in the least in letting me ride a bike. You know, repay the favour and all that. So we'll see. In the meantime, I might have a look around and see if there's something else that fits my criteria of being something that somebody with short legs like me can fit on. Something that is comfortable for a pillion passenger, and will take a top box and a couple of panniers to get a decent bit of luggage going without spoiling the looks of the bike. So if you've got any suggestions for things I could go and ride, put them in the comments below. Anyway, thanks for watching everyone, ride safe, and I'll talk to you all again soon.